said label.
Yeah, the label says.
The label. Something about Vincent, and he does
Crochet. Does he do crochet?
He does crochet.
He does crochet.
Welcome back, everyone. It is spring. We are
Yay.
just stepping into spring. We've had 2 days of sunshine, now it's raining. How are you all? It's so good to be back and presenting another edition for you. Kyla, welcome back.
Thank you.
I hope you're not feeling too weary after your second COVID jab yesterday.
I
You
had
all
my
right?
second vaccination yesterday. I don't know whether it's the long hours of work we've been doing. We didn't finish 11 o'clock last night.
I'm going to put it down to the COVID jab.
Put it under the COVID jab, and we're filming in the morning. We've had 3 or 4 glasses of champagne. I haven't had any breakfast. I'm as Frenchified as they get.
Perfect, basically.
Perfect.
Is what she's trying to tell you. So this month we're focusing in on the Montagne de Reims, and
What does Montagne mean?
the mountain.
Yeah.
But if you want to be fancy, you've got to say Montagne, right? And Reims is, well, the capital of Champagne, and we're unofficially, but it's, you know, where kings got coronated, crowned, and drank a hell of a lot of clear wine. And red wine still, nothing sparkling then. So we're down in the mountain of Reims. There's some very, very famous villages. Most of you will know Bouzy or Ambonnet, Grand Crus. If you don't, do check them out, they're great. And as we sort of skirt up and around, this is on the southern slopes, we skirt up and around, you get to Villas Marmarie, Trepaille, and so on, and then we come right up to the top where these two producers we're looking at today, the northern part of the Montagne de Reims, is where we're based. So this is in Ecueil and this is in Rilly-la-Montagne. So kicking off our wines this month, we're going to look at the producer of Vilmart Cie. Kyla, you've done a little bit of background history on Laurent Champs, is it?
I have. I mean, Vilmart Cie, if you think about quality mid-tier family estates, they're there, right? These guys have an amazing reputation. Their winemaking is exceptional. I've never had a bad bottle of Vilmart Cie.
When were they sort of founded?
1890, so they've got a long history in the region. They're 5 generations of family ownership, and they are purely making wine from their own grapes, so it's all on the property. 5th generation, Laurent Champs took over in 1989, and since that time he's not used any chemicals, fertilizers, herbicides.
That's right.
He's valeur, high valeur.
Haute valeur environmental, or HVE. And what's the other one? Viticulture durable, which basically means sustainable viticulture. So nothing is added into the vines and soil and things like that isn't natural.
And because he's got quite big plots, you know, so he's got 11 plots, you know, it means that he's not got plots that are separated by neighbours. So he's got larger plots, which means that he's got a bit more control of in the lack of herbicides, pesticides sneaking into the vineyard from neighbouring vineyards. So if you think about it, if you've got a small plot, so people don't just have one large, to give you a visualisation, when you own land in Champagne, you don't just have one big plot of land. You might have a little patch over here surrounded by other people's vineyards and a little patch down here.
That's very true. That's very true.
And the larger your plots, the more control you have, particularly if your neighbours are using herbicides and pesticides and you aren't. The house is Chardonnay dominant. They use large oak foudres.
Oh, now this is interesting. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And how, so tell us a little bit about how oak in the early part of the wine's life influences it later down the track.
So we all know in Champagne that we've got 2 fermentations. We've got a primary fermentation that happens in either a stainless steel tank or an oak barrel, and there are other vessels, but they're the 2 most common. And then we've got secondary fermentation that happens inside the bottle. But what happens in that primary fermentation, in that first aging of the Vin Clair, the still wines, is actually very important for the qualities that it imparts and the characteristics it imparts on the wine.
Okay.
So because Laurent Champs is...
We'll definitely get into that in the tasting note in a moment.
Are you hurrying me up, or are you trying to get me to somewhere,
I was just going to say,
like,
no, absolutely. I think you're doing a wonderful job. But what we're going to do is make sure everyone understands what's in the house, what they're doing, what their sort of style is. So what's his philosophy? How would you sort of describe Laurent's
So obviously it's the abstaining from chemicals and fertilizers, but one of the other significant winemaking techniques that he uses is the abstaining from malolactic fermentation. So that's a winemaking technique where we move the wine from tart malic acid, Granny Smith apple acid, into creamy acid like milk and butter.
Right.
That is held back. So the wines have this really racy spine of acidity, which gives them significant aging potential. And I was just saying to Kiri off camera that I'm actually going to put a few of these bottles away and I'm going to release them periodically down the line so I can see the effect, compare my tasting notes and see where it goes.
Well, that would be an interesting little project, wouldn't it?
So the champagne that's coming to everyone this month is the Vilmart Cie, and it is the Grand Cellier. Great wine. For me, this is kind of my style of champagne. You're in my territory now. 70% Chardonnay, 30% Pinot Noir, Premier Cru vineyards, no malolactic fermentation, so this tension spine of acidity coming through. But what I love most about this wine is the integration of oak in the most perfect way.
See, now I'm really interested when you say this because whenever we've talked about oak in the past, you've been
I hate it.
Oak's not my thing. I don't like it in champagne.
I do.
I think people use it too much.
I agree.
But now, you're all of a sudden, you're loving this. Is it why? Why do you think that is? Is it because you're using foudres instead of barriques? Or
yes.
What is it?
So here's my perspective, my thought, my view. I don't know whether this is accurate, but you know, Laurent is using a large foudre.
So 21 hectolitres. So it's 2,100 litres of wine in the barrel instead of 228.
So you've
10
got
times more
wine to timber ratio. Now, there's no way you are replacing these barrels frequently. They are expensive MFs.
I'm going to correct you. It's actually less surface area.
Yes,
it's more surface area in a smaller barrique.
Correct. I apologise. I knew what I was trying to say, but I didn't get there. So
the tech police is here.
Champagne nerd alert. But, you know, I love that. So it's obviously well-seasoned timber. It's been used multiple times by holding wine in the vineyard. And instead of the oak overpowering champagne, which traditionally can be quite subtle in its flavour, champagne, for me, it's beautifully integrated. So instead of getting this intense spice, you get vanilla, you get cream, you get this softness to it. Now, this is all beautifully balanced with the lack of malolactic fermentation. Now, when I first put my nose in the glass, you know, I get citrus, I get slight white flower, then I get this pure cream and just a tinge of that spice, which is the opposite to the second wine we're going to talk about in a moment. I think they're both beautiful wines, but I love this style. Now, you know, you and I have spoken about this before. Some of the critics in the industry think that Vilmart Cie wines to the uninitiated, the unexplained, can be a little off-putting because
it's high acid, quite strong oak. It's drunk too young, and then people go,
"I don't get it.
I don't get it. Why should I? What is this?" But you've got to give it time.
Yes.
So that's why we were talking earlier about aging them.
And I mean, I think even in the short time that we've let it sit in the glass, and I implore you to do this at home, you have a bigger glass, give it time in the glass. What you will see is that the acidity starts to wane, it starts to temper quite quickly actually, and it settles down. And what you're left with is this beautiful, quite powerful, so beautifully long in its length.
Yes.
Silky texture on the palate, creamy, citrus-driven wine that is so well integrated.
Yeah, and look, just to clarify, this wine was disgorged in 2018, okay? So we've now got 3 years since then. It's October 2018, so we're literally just a month off 3 years. And that's 3 years post sort of aging, so it's probably coming into a good drinking window now, but you can see there's heaps more time available for this.
And my style of wine.
It brings me great pleasure to introduce our next producer, Vincent Brochet, who are based in Ecueil
I love this little town of Ecueil.
Beautiful. We've got some of our favourite producers in there. We got Nicolas Maya, we've got La Cote Gobillon, we've got Frederic Sava. There's some cool growers in that area. Emmanuel Brochet, I must mention as well, which is, I think, a distant cousin to this family.
Well, I've never had Vincent Brochet's wines before.
No.
It's a first for me, and that's always exciting.
It is, yes.
We've got the BSA Extra Brut.
Yep, the Extra Brut. So the house, I've been making wine since 1721, I think it is, so very, very long time ago. And they've had, the Vincent Brochet label is the most sort of recent incarnation. They dropped it. It used to be something called something else before. And Gaspard, who's the son, he's come in and rather young, trendy, handsome fella. And he's put his sort of flavour on the winemaking. So very much like Vilmart Cie, it's haute valeur environmental, HVE. They are a sustainable viticulture. They're basically very natural in all of their approach to what they do.
I love it.
You can see it.
Well, and some things that really make my tail wag in Champagne are natural yeast. So letting the first fermentation trigger spontaneously. So not applying. So again, we're fermenting for the primary fermentation in an oak barrel, but this time we're in a 228 litre barrique, so a lot smaller, so you've got a lot more wood contact.
So to explain what you mean by wild ferment versus...
I'm coming to the wild ferment,
I'm
getting to that bit.
Because that's quite important.
Well, and it's also, for me, it's a bit sexy, so rather than buying packet yeast from the CIVC or wherever you're buying it from commercially driven, it's French Coles, right? In you go.
Off the shelf
varietal.
And you go.
They're letting Mother Nature really do the talking, and they're allowing the natural yeast that sit on the stems of the grape and on the grape skin to trigger wild fermentation on their own, and then they're leaving the wines in the barrel for 9 months to age, to really take on that attribute of wine in timber before they go through blending and secondary fermentation in the bottle. There's no fining, there's no filtration, there's nothing moved around, everything's done by gravity. So really natural winemaking approach, and I think the wines are
they're sensational,
super terroir driven.
And we'll just touch on the soils, because the soils are clay in the north, and as they get further down to the flatter part, they're actually very sandy, and Pinot Noir sort of reigns supreme in this area, but it's not Pinot Noir that you would normally have in any other Champagne, where it's like blue, red fruits and things like that. It's actually quite different. So
and the Montagne de Reims, even though it's not a big mountain, it's beautiful and it's significant. You've got this carpet of vineyards wrapping around it. At the top, you've got this forest. So it's got its own ecosystem. It's got its own subclimate, I suppose you'd say. And you've got a mountain. So naturally, you've got two sides. You've got one sloping side that gives you northerly aspect. You've got the other, which is southerly aspect. So getting full sun, whereas the north getting afternoon sun. We're in the opposite part of the world.
It's a lot cooler overall.
You've got clay coming down most of the mountain, and then sandy loams down the base, and you've got this particular ecosystem, but beautiful, beautiful, expressive wines, and both Chardonnay and Pinot Noir in the different various pockets look great in this region.
They look amazing. So moving into this wine, I loved it. We had some amazing, clean fruit. We had such expressive fruit. I can't believe that actually 80% of this is Pinot Noir, with the remainder being a blend of Chardonnay and Pinot Meunier.
15% Chardonnay, 5% Pinot Meunier.
We're using all of the natural fermentation that's happened in the beginning to give you that character, that funk, that vibe. The Extra Brut sits at 4 Gs flat. No need to worry, my accountant handles that. If you know what that means, hit me up on DMs. Then we've got a beautiful array of sort of like that Feijoa, green apple, citrus, and it is just so clean. I loved it. How did you find this wine?
I found it so full of personality, and just it speaks. It speaks volumes, and I think that is good viticulture, number one. There is a care that's taken in the vineyard. They allow the wines to express themselves. They ferment in the 228 litre barrique, so that's clear, that's evident that there is a remarkable difference between a large foudre and a small barrique.
Did you get a sort of a herbal edge to this by any chance? I'm just smelling the wine again.
Well, for me, there was just a lot more spice than the previous wine.
Almost like
I got a hay character, I must admit.
A spearmint kind of thing going on, which is quite fresh.
But for me, it was dried ginger, it was clove, it was spice. It was this kind of really strong, crispy red apple. It just had a lot of lifted aromatic properties when you first opened. So I was sitting from you when you first opened the wine. I got the aromatic shooting out of the bottle. Before it even hit the glass, so really powerful.
Now that's an Australianism. I got the aromatic shooting out of the bottle. It's amazing. Hit me in the nostrils. In the nozza.
Don't.
I love it. I love you, honey. That's the funniest thing.
Don't give me your Australian accent because I can come back to you. A British accent. You need a glass of water.
I do want a glass of water. I'm well thirsty.
In it.
So to sum up, look, this is beautiful artisanal champagne. I think you're all going to love it. I'd love to hear your comments as well. Hey, let us know what you think would be good as a pairing.
So I have to say that I am not responsible for choosing the champagnes ever, actually.
Well.
Kiri does. He takes great pride in choosing the champagnes. And when I look over in the office and he looks perplexed, it's not that he can't figure out his login, it's that he's thinking about the club wines. I can see a little perplexed face. You see?
No, I love it.
You love it.
No,
but it's a challenge.
It's called, it's my pensive look.
Yeah. It's the pensive look, but
it actually gives me great joy because
what
I love doing is finding something that unites the wines in the club, even if you don't both receive both wines each month and you're just receiving one. There's got to be this sort of uniting theme, and I want to not only elevate your learning, make it fun, right? So we're here to learn something, get into something delicious and have a glass of champagne with each other.
I've worked in champagne 16 years this year, and you bring champagnes to me that I've never had before. That's cool, you know?
I love it.
And it's, even for me, like, it's a constant evolution, it's a constant journey, and I just think it's so exciting. I get excited about getting my club wines each month. It's cool.
It's good. I mean, like, I think that's a great point to make because Champagne is constantly evolving as a wine region, as good wine regions should, and what we're doing is trying to keep it at the forefront of that change, that movement, that exciting thing that's happening, and that's why we're always listing the really fun things on Emperor. So
these wines have personality. Yep. We hope that you love them as much as we do. Yep. We know that around Australia we're in very different circumstances right now. Some states are in lockdown, some states aren't. But you know what? We are a community. Yep. So chime onto our Facebook page. There's an Emperor Champagne group if you're not already part of it.
You've all been doing a great job of sharing
your moments
on Insta, sharing on Facebook. Thank you so much for doing that, and just keep it up. And that's what it's all about. It's a community after all.
It is. And you know what? We can't get around to everybody at the moment. So we have been working in the background on some champagne tasting events for club members. We've lined up some champenois who are going to join us next month and the following month to do tastings together. So even if we can't be with you physically, we're with you mentally, and we're going to be with you virtually soon enough.
And liquidly.
And liquidly. We are liquidly together. Welcome to all our new club members. There's been heaps of new club members have joined this month. Welcome to the Emperor family. For everybody who's been with us from the many parts of the journey, we thank you.
2014.
2014 is our first club member and they're still here. Thank you for being with us. We love spending time with each and every one of you. We hope you enjoy the champagnes this month, and until the next episode, stay safe.
See ya. The label, it says Vincent Brochet.
No, I actually liked it, you know, just could have carried on from there. But we won't.
Did I say label?
Because you fucked it up.
I've done it a few times. She's like, do you want a glass of water?
Another club event.
Kat, darling, you went straight to conclusion.
Did you have more? We'd been talking about it forever. What else did you have?
Nothing. You were just rambling.
I thought we'd done with the wine. We spoke about the wine forever.
You went down to Rambletown and didn't come back. Oh, how about an apple pie? I'm like, yeah, all right. We don't all talk like that. So. I was like, what are you on about?
I was doing the conclusion.
Nah.
Have you not started?
What are you talking about? I haven't finished talking about the wine. And
well,
you were like,
hurry up.
Hit us up on our socials. I'm like, what are you on, man? Hey. Hey, to the fellas out there, don't ever get with a Capricorn unless you're a Capricorn. It's just capricious.
This goat needs to be on the top of the mountain.
Oh, God.
Just saying.
You bet you make the click-clack all the way up. Fucking loud. All right, I tell you what. Let me run this because I want it to be a minute tops. Yeah, because it's going to be a really long video otherwise.
No, I like a long video. Everyone wants a long video. No one's got anything else to do but watch a video.
Oh, my Lord. What about your buddies in WA and...
They don't have anything to do even when they're not in COVID.
All right, well, let's just...
Don't let me finish the video before my makeup falls off. And not the goat off the mountain, just my face.